Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Now this video is the second inventory video, and here I'm going to show you how to do the actual data entry. Now before I start, I wanted to mention this in the previous video and overlooked it. So I want to do it now before I go a step further. Now when you are entering the list of customers, you had a total that you could work towards. It was 4,092,336. Likewise, when you were entering your vendors, you had a total to work towards, which was 4,698,549. Now, for you to confirm that your data entry is accurate, I'm going to now range and total all these control figures, and you need to make a note of it. When I range it, I go to the bottom of my screen. I see the total is 2,593,607. So when you have finished your data entry and you have run the inventory report that I'm going to tell you to run, this has to be the total before you can move on to do any more data entry. So please make sure that you check for this, because that's one of the things I'm going to look out for when I am looking at your individual reports. Okay, so that is out of the way. Now I am going to demonstrate the addition of 3 groups: the processors, the printers, and software. So I have taken up the GL codes for the inventory control account for processors, which is 12150. I have picked up the printer code 12100 for inventory, and I have picked up the software code 12200 for software inventory. Now remember I said earlier we need 3 GL accounts. So this is where you're going to come to confirm your general ledger codes for the inventory general ledger code. All right. I'm now going to go over into Sage. So here I am on the home page for Sage. Now I mentioned earlier in a previous video that there are usually more than one ways to access any window you want in Sage. Now in the previous inventory video, I mentioned that this is the icon that we're going to click on in order to access a window to add our inventory item. So by clicking on the inventory panel, you get access to this icon. You could also go to tasks, and on the task, okay, it is not picking up. All right, let's come here, sorry. Maintain inventory items. This is the other way to access that same window. In fact, I'm going to click on it. So now I'm going to maximize the window. And then I am going to look at the various inventory items. I think I'm going to pause the video for a minute and just pick up the data for my items on my listings. Let's go there quickly. So I'm interested in the one for OneProc. So for OneProc, I'm going to be capturing the account ID, the name, which is Pentium 4 processor, 2 gigahertz, GZ is gigahertz, Intel is a preferred vendor, the inventory count is 8, the unit cost is $1,489, and finally the minimum stock is 4. So let's go and do that quickly. So I'm jumping back into Sage. So I'm clicking on, I went to maintain, then I went to inventory items. I could also go straight to this icon and click new inventory. What is my item ID for the OneProc? 1 caps PROC, PROC in caps. That's the coding structure for our inventory. And the description is Pentium 4 processor, 2 GZ. Now then, remember I talked about 3 groupings or classes of inventory. When I click on the drop down arrow, the one that accounts for most of your data is stock items, but you have other options. You have service, which I mentioned, and the description only. So right now we're dealing with stock item. Now, unlike the other elements like the customers and the vendors, we're only going to be using one tab, and that is the general tab. So for the big white space here, this is where we're going to put a description of our stock item for sales related transactions. So I'm going to copy my description, Control C, and paste it here, Control V. Now, the reason why it's in red, the GZ is in red, is that it's not a word that is recognized in the dictionary in the system, which is why it's highlighted in red. So don't pay that any attention. Now notice that this white space relates to sales. To the left in the field name, we have description for sales. So what is going to be here is any information that's going to be jumping on an invoice, a customer invoice. So any customer invoice where you're selling OneProc, this is the description that will display on it. Now, if I click this drop-down arrow and choose purchases, notice that the data I entered a while ago disappears, because now the system is waiting for the information or the description that is going to go on the purchase orders that you're sending to your suppliers. I'm just going to put Control V to put the same information that I copied from the description here. So the FIFO method is FIFO. The costing method is FIFO for all of your inventory, as mentioned in the project instructions. Now, I'm not going to fill in price levels or unit cost, because when we go to the beginning balances here, we will get that information. Now let us look at the 3 general ledger accounts for the processors. We want to have the GL account specific for processors, which is $12,150. I want the sales account specific for processors, and it is currently on the correct option, which is sales computer system, because the processor is one of the internal elements in a computer. So this income account or sales account, described as sales computer systems, is the one I need. And for the cost of sales, the same description, cost of sales computer system, is the one I need. Now my last comment. There are 4 types of processors in your warehouse, and they all fell under the heading processors. This code is going to apply to all of them, every single one of them, under the heading processors. So please note, when you're going to each group, whatever GL code applies for one, it applies for all in the group. So when you go to motherboard, and you're going to have 3 motherboards, all the motherboards will have the same inventory code, cost of sale code, and sales code. All right. Now the preferred vendor is Intel. Oops. I did not put Intel. Oops. All right, I'm going to leave that blank. It's not really going to make a difference. All right, Amazon is in there. Okay, I won't quarrel over that. But it's supposed to be Intel. Now, the reason why I didn't see Intel is that I did not enter all of my vendors. I don't need to do it for the presentations, but you need to make sure that your preferred vendor is in fact Intel for your processors. My minimum stock is 4. And remember, I mentioned in the previous video that we have reorder quantities as an option as part of the data that is required. All right. I think that is it. So just to quickly recap before we save and move to the next section: the item ID, the item description, the item class, which for most of your things on Appendix 4, the item class is stock items. The description for purchases, which we're going to paste, and for sales, we're also going to paste. So we're going to copy and paste twice in this space, once for sales and once for the for purchases option. We're going to ensure that the cost method here is FIFO, and we're going to ensure that the 3 general ledger accounts, the appropriate ones, are there. There's space for the minimum stock. We did not give any information about reorder quantity. The preferred vendor is there. And then lastly, we click to go to put in the quantities. Now you should remember seeing this screen before where Sage asks you to save what you have already done. So it says, do you want to save the record first? And we say yes. Now welcome to the back room. This is a back room for the inventory screen. So what we do is that we go down to the list here, click on the respective item, and it brings up the fields that need to be completed. So 1PROC is the one we're entering now. The quantity on hand for 1PROC is 8 units. Unit cost is $1,489. And once I click into the total cost, Sage automatically calculates that. And that figure was $11,912. When we're finished, click OK. Now notice 2 things that have happened, 3 things that have happened. The item class has grayed out, so you can't change it again if you made a mistake. The last unit cost, which we did not enter but filled automatically, that too is grayed out, so we can't make a change there. And the costing method is also grayed out. Now, if in your data entry you find that you made an error, please find the X up here so, and click it to delete your data and start over. Okay? Now, I think I should go and pick up the information for the other processors because I need to show you how to check your work as you go along to make sure that once you finish your data entry, your inventory total becomes 2,593,607. So I'm going to quickly put in the information for 2PROC. 2PROC, which is 2.5 gigahertz, 6 items, 2298 for the unit cost, minimum stock 3. For 3PROC, and this is why it's important, as I had suggested in earlier videos, to print everything off so that you have an easy reference to the information. So I'm having a little challenge here, but I'm working with the program. 34792. Now the last one I'm going to pick up for the processors is 4PROC, 3.5 gigahertz, 12 in stock, 7,340 for one, and the minimum stock is 6. So I'm going to quickly do that now. So here we are. So we have saved the screen. And now I'm going to go new to put in my next one. Now I am doing 2PROC, so I'm not going to be speaking. Just watch what I do and follow. I'm reminding you that we're going to keep the same codes that we had used for 1PROC. It will become the code for 2PROC, 3PROC, and the 4PROC. Minimum stock is 3. In my beginning balances, clicking on 2PROC to bring it up, put it in my quantities, 6, my unit cost, 2298, okay, save, new, 3PROC, I'm Control V, just changing the gigahertz on each. This is 3.0. Oh, you know what I forgot to do with the other one? Put in the for sales for purchases. Let me do that for this. Control C. Control V there. I'll go back and do the other one. For 2PROC that I didn't do. I'm changing this to 12,150. So it matches the others. The other codes are fine. The minimum stock here is 2. You can put in your preferred vendor. I go to the beginning balances and save. I click on 3PROC. My quantities are 4. Unit cost 3479. Click OK. Save. Now then, I omitted the details in the block here for 2PROC. So this directional arrow, notice when I hover it says previous record. So if I click it, it carries me to the previous inventory item. So let me just quickly do my editing and save and continue with my data entry. The last one now is 4 proc. My voice is going. Control V. Change this to 3.5. What's happening? Stock item. Copy this. Paste it twice. Once for sales and the other for purchases. Put in my minimum stock, which is 6. Change my inventory code to reflect that for processors. You put in your vendor ID, which should be Intel. Then I choose or click on 4 proc to bring up the fields that I can do my data entry. 12 items, unit cost 7340. Okay, so we've done 1 batch. Excellent. Now, having done 1 group, what you need to do now is to make sure that what you have entered comes to 127,696. And you're asking me, where did get that figure from? Let's look. The processors, the control total on Appendix 1 is 127,696. So when I go to Sage, I want to make sure that that is what I posted. So I'm going to go to Reports and Forms on the main menu. Go to Inventory from the drop-down list and look for Inventory Valuation Report. Click it twice. And here it adds up in my item value that my group is 127,696. Now this is, so notice that the item description has been chopped off here, but spaces can be modified. So don't worry too much about titles being cut off. Now the thing is that right now I've only entered 1 type of item. But suppose you'd entered 15 and you want to check specifically the 1 procs, you would go to Options, and you'd select by item ID. You're going to filter, select by item ID, and then you're going to come to this long list that will be here, and you just select the ones you want to be included and be added into the valuation report, and click OK. So I know now that this is correctly entered. So for every grouping, the monitors, the processors, the software, the DVD drive, check the groupings once done to make sure it ties back to the total on Appendix 1. All right, so let's come out of this. Let's come out of this. And let us go to another example. Now, the printers have their own groupings. I'm just going to do 1. The ID for printers, let's pick up that information from my Appendix 4. So I'm scrolling down to printers. And there are 3 of them. Okay. So I'm just going to do 1. And it's a HP DeskJet. Oh, I could copy and paste it. 920. Let's see if we can do that. Control C. I'm going back into my Sage. Let's see if I can put it here. Control V. Excellent. Saves me the data entry. So the ID here is 1. Oh. All right. So okay. So there's a price. All right. So I want to change the item ID. coming. Okay, I've saved. Okay, item class. All right, I'll do what you asked me to do. I'll click on item class and select it. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Just chill. All right, so item class, stock item. All right, so I copied and pasted to try to save data entry. But what is happening is that this thingamabob here is not correct. So there is supposed to be something that changes. All right, well, guess what I'm going to do? Haste makes waste, so I'm going to delete this. Alrighty, let's start over again. 1 PRIN. So I'm going to Control V here and go to purchases, Control V there. And I'm going to make sure that I have the correct general ledger codes. The printer is 12100 for the inventory, and the sales has a unique code for the printer, 4400. There it is, sales printers, and it has a unique code for cost of sales specifically for printers, and it's 51,000. Okay, cost of sales printers. Minimum stock, I didn't pick up the minimum stock on that. Let me shift it. Minimum stock is 3. I did not pick up the quantity 6 and 7463 for the unit cost. Cancel. So let me put that in. Minimum stock is 3. Okay, so now we can go ahead. Oh, stock item class. Okay, so I can go around to the back now. Edit, yes, I want to save. And then I'm going to go to one print, put in the figure. So that's 6 items with a unit cost of 7,463. So the total is automatically calculated. I click OK. Now I need to get rid of the inventory list. This funny one here. This one. Now I'm going to click delete. I sure want to delete the record, yeah. But so if I click on my lookup button, I shouldn't have that annoying little reference there anymore. All right, so I think you get the gist of how to do your data entry. And now the last one I'm going to do, well, software, just like printers, has its own cost of sales code, its own sales code, and its own inventory code. So I don't think I am going to do any more entries. The only thing that I want to do is to show you now how to do the service. If you recall, there were 2 other categories. So I'm going to come back here, go to new inventory item, and I'm going to change the item class to service. Let's do the simpler one first, description only. Now notice how that disappears completely. Let me see what the description is down here. So I'm jumping into my Excel and scrolling to the bottom. So it's one war, and it says 60 days warranty on all items. Let me copy here and paste. So it's one war, WARR, that's the ID. And I've put in the description. is description only, and I've pasted it down here as well. Now notice this description has no need, is not used for suppliers. You don't offer warranty for suppliers, only customers. So we're not going to be needing the for purchases option. Okay, so that's all we need to do to enter the description only, this specific one. So we're going to say save and new. Now the other one says happy holidays, one app. Now you can send that message to both customers and the vendors. I can just type it here, happy holidays. Or Merry Christmas for us here in JA. It's a description only. And it's both for purchases as well as for sales. Because for sales for your customers and for purchases for your suppliers. I mean, yes, you're buying stuff from them, but you can still wish them a happy holiday. All right, so let us save and close. Now the last one we're going to be doing is a service. So let's go back and go to inventory items, new inventory item. The code is OneServe and the description is service and support. And the item class is service. So notice that we do lose some of the field information, like the beginning balances, because we don't need this for this particular item. Control C. So we're going to only use it for customers. So the description for sales is the only one that's relevant. So we only copy it here. The unit cost, we're going to type it here, which is $3,000. And basically, the only change that I'm going to make here is the sales account, because when you're doing servicing of your customers' purchases, I need to find, here it is, repair service. That is the ideal sales account, not sales computer system, and everything else can remain. Okay, so we just need to change this to repair service, and that is it. So just to recap, the ID code, description, the item class, which is service, paste the description again in this for sales description, put in your unit cost, change your sales account to something more appropriate, which is repair service income, and these can remain. Okay. All right, so by the way, I want you as a group to try to figure out how this works, because what you're doing here is taking out a part of somebody's salary and putting it into the cost of sales element. So think of the journal entry behind it. It would make a fabulous interview question. All right, let's save and close. All right, so I'm going to just take a quick look at my inventory report. So go to reports and forms, inventory. Inventory valuation report is the one I want. And now the figure has changed because I have the DeskJet in there. But if I wanted to only print the printers, I go to options. I filter based on item ID. And I just simply click the ones that I want. So there are 3 printers. And if you had done your data entry, you could have scrolled down and found them and click them and click OK. And the system will only bring up your printers. So you could go back now and double check your total with your control account for printers on Appendix 1. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is it for me for this particular video. A bit lengthy, but very important. And so that marks the end of this video.